I had 12 years of formal education behind me when I set out for an afternoon of field research. I brought a stylus and a clean sheet of papyrus to hear the popular Galilean healer everyone was talking about. Scribes visit teachers to assess and evaluate. Our mandate is to weigh new words against established tradition. This diagram maps the analytical framework we use to judge teachers. When a speaker opens their mouth, we route their central teaching into approved buckets: the school of Rabbi Hillel, the school of Rabbi Shammai, or the red zone of innovation, a polite word for heresy. Intellectual categorization keeps the boundaries of the religious establishment intact. In this professional mode, spiritual discovery is irrelevant. The crowd was larger than my teachers in Jerusalem had reported. Several thousand people were spread across the slope of a hill overlooking the lake. The Galilean assumed the proper form for a teacher. He sat down. He did not pace. He avoided extravagant gestures and instead looked out into the crowd as if he were making direct eye contact with specific individuals. I found a position at the edge. I held my stylus ready, entirely confident in my position. My teachers assumed he was a charismatic preacher, drawing fishermen and tax collectors, because he asked nothing sophisticated of them, and I fully expected to write down a simplistic message. These people were desperate, seeking something they lacked. I was a professional observer, immune to the emotional pull of a folk healer. Then he spoke. "Blessed are the poor in spirit." My stylus moved automatically. I assumed this was a standard reversal formula, a rhetorical inversion used to jar an audience before explaining the conditions needed to earn the blessing. This diagram breaks down the grammatical anomaly that ruined my notes. He used present tense verbs to link disadvantaged states, like grief and poverty of spirit, directly to a present blessing. The blessing was not contingent on correcting the condition. The required action was entirely missing. My neat columns failed. The Beatitudes bypassed the legal grid. Each one described a specific kind of person. As the list continued, the meek, the merciful, the pure in heart, I realized I was none of these things. I knew the law from Genesis to Malachi. By every metric of my world, I was rich in spirit, certified and credentialed. 12 years of mastery had produced a thorough knowledge of the law. It had not produced the internal posture he called blessed. The teachings came in rapid succession. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. He spoke about the kingdom of heaven as a place to be inhabited. His listeners were to live within it, not simply study it from afar. Then he gave them a prayer. He started with Our Father. It bypassed the elaborate technical preambles and formal addresses I had spent years learning to compose. It was completely unmediated. But the most shocking element of the afternoon was what he didn't say. He never cited a precedent. He never invoked past authorities to validate his arguments. He taught as if the tradition ran directly through him, rather than around him. It rendered my professional vocabulary useless. My evaluation toolkit was completely invalidated. He concluded with a parable about two men building houses, one built on rock, the other on sand. The rock foundation had nothing to do with architectural knowledge. The man on the rock was defined simply as the one who heard the words and did them. I had heard the words. My notes were thorough and exact. I was one of the few people on that hill who could recite the entire sermon back with precision. But because I had only recorded the words, I remained unsure if my foundation was rock or sand. I rolled up my notes and walked back down the hill. I had come to evaluate. I had returned, instead, evaluated. I have studied the Beatitudes many times since that afternoon. I can explain the Hebrew background, the eschatological framework, and their relationship to the Psalms. My technical exegesis is perfect, but mastering the intellectual data is meaningless if the student never actually becomes what the teaching describes. That question remains open, and I have come to believe that is exactly as he intended.